Hi everyone, so I'm going to be going over an example on how we can start setting up a data with a question and then some possible answers that users can click on. So this will not lead to a final results at the end, but it'll just show how we could at least select some values from the data and how we could keep looping through. So let's get started here. I'm going to go to my terminal. This is Visual Studio Code, CD desktop, Flutter, create data, quiz, questions, something like that. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to drag and drop this over. And then I'm going to create some folders here first. So in the lib, we got the main, and actually I'll clean out the main a bit first because I don't like having all these comments right there, and I don't need the home page there. So we got the basics, and this will be called the question screen. So initially it will go directly to the question screen. It's just going to be easier for this example. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of folders, and I'm going to have a data folder. I'm going to have models folder, and I'll also have a screens folder. And actually, before I do that, I'm just going to write text just so I could test this out first. When you have the iOS simulator installed, then what you can do is actually you could go to devices, and you can select what device you want. So there's usually some sort of version, and I always go with iPhone 15 Pro Max. You can go with whatever you like. And I'll just make this a little bit bigger. And I will run this. And I will just run, start debugging. And we can see here that we have this setup here. The widget inspector sometimes shows up. If it doesn't, you can always go to this inspector here, and it'll always bring it back up. And what I like about the inspector is when you click it, you get some dimensions here. You can see we're using the material app. So these are pretty much layers. It's called the widget tree. So you could see what are the layers until it gets to a certain point. And a great thing about this is you can always click on this icon right here, toggle select widget mode. So if you click on it and you start clicking around, you can see that you get this kind of like highlight. Right now our application's not really set up properly, so it's going to be a little bit hard to click around, but later on you'll see that you'll be able to select things, and it will select that area, or you can kind of see where it's located. And let's go back to our folders here. I'm just going to close that, and I'm going to add some data. So in our data folder, I'm going to make questions.dart, and in here what I'll do is I'm going to import this package, creating, we're going to call it data quiz questions. We're in that project, and then we're also actually going to have to create the model for it. So before I can finish it, the model, there will be a file called quiz_questions.dart, and that'll be okay for now. And what I'll do here is I will go into models and then that quiz questions.dart, And I'm just going to finish up setting up this question with the answers. Const questions. It's going to be some sort of an array. And I'm going to call the quiz questions model. So this is going to come from here. So I'll have a class. Class quiz questions. And quiz questions, this dot text, and this dot answers. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to see what type of questions I'll add here. So I'll say like, how are you? I'll have the answers of good, bad, so something like that. And I'll just add 2 more questions here just so we have some random stuff here. And I'm going to say something like, where have you traveled to? I don't know, say something like Canada, USA, Australia, something like that. And then another question, what is your favorite color? Let's say red, orange, yellow. And what we're going to be doing is, now that we have this, so what we have is we're using the model of quiz questions right here, and we have some sort of text for the actual question, but then we also have another array which is a list which contains a bunch of strings, and this list is essentially this array right here that has all the possible answers that we could go through, or selections that the user could select from. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up our screen now, so then we can actually go through all the questions. And in our main.dart, I'm going to rename this to questions screen. And in the screens, I will make a new file and make it questions screen.dart. And then it will be a class of questions screen extends. It's going to be stateful widget because we're going to be changing values on the screen as we go. And we're going to have some sort of create state. And we're going to return questions, the underscore question screen. And it's going to be another class here, underscore question screen. And this is going to be, see here, extend state of this question screen. And we're going to have a build inside here, which will return, let's just say scaffold. And we need to add a key, totally forgot about that. So we're going to say const question screen super.key, And then we're going to, since we have that scaffold, we could add the app bar, and the app bar will contain some sort of title. And I'm just gonna have something in the title. I'll say this is the text style will be a color. Let's say color of type colors dot white, and this will be a background color of colors dot blue. There we go. And then we'll have some sort of body. Let's make this center. And it will have a child. And it will have a column. And in the children, it'll say text. And we're going to have this stuff up above, and we'll have main axis alignment. Main axis alignment dot center. I think that's all I'll do for that one, and I'm just gonna make sure this error goes away. I'll import this pages. So package and then data. There we go. So we have this connected now to our question screen, and our question screen has the state full widget set up with the two classes, and we centered it so it starts in the center, and we have our app bar, which is this blue bar at the top. I'm going to get rid of this debug banner just by adding this debug. Show debug banner mode false, so turn that off. And now that that is turned off, I will save that. And now what we're going to do is, we want to be able to set up our questions here. So we only show one question with the possible answers they could select. So one at a time, they should be able to select it. And in order to do this, we need to actually set up our text properly here. So in our question screen, we're going to, instead of this text like that, we're going to add some actual content inside the text, and we're going to have some sort of questions. So here, before our class, inside our class, we're going to be doing this inside of our widget. So what we're going to do is we're going to go inside this build widget, and we're going to set up some sort of final current question, and we'll grab that questions, and based on that questions, it will be some sort of current question index. And that current question index, it's actually going to be part of another variable, which is the current question index. We're going to set it to 0. And we're going to say, well, we're going to set up a function, void answer question, and we're going to set up a set state and a current question index. And if the current question index is equal to the questions dot length, so it has to be less than or equal to the questions dot length, because we don't want to go over the amount of questions we have. And then the current question index, if it's greater or equal to, then that means we need to start all the way back from the beginning again, and we'll start back at position 0. So this is just making sure once we get to the end of the questions that we have to start all the way back at the beginning again. I know that, that's not how questions go, but we're just going to look at this logic here in this video example first. So this one, we're just constantly incrementing the current question index. And then this one, we're checking to make sure if we reach the end or not. And the set state is just looking at whether or not something is being changed, and it's inside this function. So that means we need to call the function down below. And what we could do first is this text. We're going to set up the question to actually show it. So current question dot text, that is the main question. And we'll have a style, I guess. Const text style. Let's put font size of 30. There we go, got our first question. And let's also add those list of possible answers. So we're going to use the 3 dots and then the current question dot answers dot map. So we're going to map through and look at all the possible options. And I'm going to put some sort of answer. And I will return some sort of button. And it'll call that answer question function. And the child here, there will be a text answer. And there needs to be a comma there. And end that. So what we're doing is we're just, because this is a list of all the possible answers in another array here, since it is in a list, we're going to be using the dot map method in order to loop through it. So answers dot map, and we're going to grab one item at a time. So when we return it, it will be some sort of button. It will call that function, so we'll attach that function option here to each possible answer. And one more thing I want to look at is here when we go to this inspect for Flutter, so this widget inspector, I just want to show you guys this. So if I actually click on this little pointer here, toggle select widget mode, and if I go here, it's not much to click. If I click on that, there we go, that's easier. So click on this little magnifying glass, and when you do, it actually makes it easier for you to click on the actual options on the screen. And you can see here whenever you click on it that it goes to that specific widget or area here on the widget tree, and you're able to get to it and navigate a lot easier. And you can even see when I start clicking around that this little light bulb here follows wherever I click on the widget tree, so you know exactly where it's going, where this widget is located here exactly in the actual code as well. And this area here, the Layout Explorer, just kind of gives you more dimensions and insights on that specific widget.